right, Shabbat Shalom, elect. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Again, this is Dr. Yehoshua Ben Ephraim. Today's date is June 5th, 2021. We've already had Shabbat service, but this is actually a special lesson that I wanted to bring forth today, because I think it's important. I think it's probably, I probably should have taken for granted that many of you who are, operating under Israelite law, newcomers and old alike, assuming that everyone knows or understands the slight distinction, if you will, between the books of the Israelites, or the children of Israel, which is the Torah and the Tanakh. Now, I know many of you that know me know that I'm very, very adamant and focused on Torah. We're Torah keepers. The Torah is our foundation. And this is not to take away from the Tanakh, but in Torah, or what they call the five books of Moses, that's our foundation, because in those five books are all the laws, statutes, and commandments required of us per our covenant with the Most High God of Israel. In the Torah, the Most High speaks in first person. And let me say this so that I'm clear, okay? When I say that this is the Most High talking, this is the Most High in first person, that means that those words are coming directly from God. Okay? There's nothing after that. He said what he said. He means what he said, and that's that. There's no questioning that. There's no nothing. Just so I'm clear. So that's why I always reiterate or iterate that this is the Most High talking in first person, meaning the words that I'm quoting or reading to you verbatim came directly from him, and nothing else needs to be said. But I think I needed to kind of say that, because I think some of you really could get confused between things that the Most High said, things that someone said that he said, or whatever the case may be. When he's speaking first person, there's no second, third hand. He's telling you directly and specifically what it is that he wants us to know, wants us to do, or whatever the case may be. All right. Now, there's no real if you research the Torah and the Tanakh, what you will probably see is that the Torah is the five books of Moses, all Hebrew. Okay? All Hebrew. All right? And what you will find with the Tanakh is that it's mostly Hebrew, some Greek. Now, you would think that means, or probably means that well, first of all, the question would be, well, why would some of the Tanakh be in Greek? Right? That would be one of the first questions, right? And rightfully so. Because they have their hands all over the so-called New Testament. They do. So do the Romans. Another story for another day. But my personal, what I think is that, like many of our laws, statutes, and commandments, I believe that the Tanakh, some of the books in the Tanakh were translated into Greek. And somehow it got crossed up that some of the books in the Tanakh were written in Greek. That's a major difference: written in Greek or translated by Greeks. That's a whole different thing. But I think that's important to note, because, and this is and for me, I humbly am thankful that I'm able to discern what is of the Most High and what is not, what is of Yeshua HaMashiach and what is not, by grace and mercy of the Most High. That's one of the spirits that I operate in. You can't lie to me. You can't tell me what the Most High said something, or Yeshua HaMashiach said something, because my gifts will let me know that That's not true. Now, everyone does not operate in that gift. I get it. We all have different measures of different gifts. Mine is being able to discern the word of Yah, and I'm humbled by that. So I'm not too concerned about anything in the so-called New Testament or definitely, the Tanakh, and most certainly not the Torah, because of what the Most High has equipped me with, right? So, and this is why he appoints pastors. This is why he appoints teachers. Like, he appoints people to lead, his people, because everyone and anyone can pick up a book and read from it. Anyone can do that, right? But that doesn't mean that you were ordained to do so. That doesn't mean that the Most High equipped you with the knowledge, wisdom, or understanding to do so, or the gift and abilities to discern what is of the Most High and what is not. Because there's a lot, let me tell you something, and y'all know as well as I do, there's a lot out there that's not of God. There's a lot out there where people lied on Yeshua HaMashiach, who the world knows as Jesus Christ. To this day, it's got people messed up because they said that Christ said it. And Christ ain't said it no more than the man in the moon. But because they said he said it, right? There are people today to condemn Christ for something that man did. Christ never claimed himself to be God. Christ would never say anything like that. Christ knows better. Okay, he is the Son of the Most High. But I don't want to veer off and go on a tangent, but I'm just saying, to making my point, that unscrupulous men lie. God is not a man that he should lie. Okay? And I'm so humble that I know the word of Yah, of the Most High. I know it. I know the word of Christ. When he came to me in that dream, in that vision, and I heard his voice, his voice was like no ever I'd ever heard. I mean, like I've never heard that voice before or after when Yeshua HaMashiach came to me. So I think it's important to kind of do this lesson to let you know, about the books of the children of Israel, and why the Torah, the 5 books of Moses, is our foundation. Okay? The Tanakh too, but more so the Torah. I stress that. Okay? So that being said, let's kind of get into the lesson and kind of talk a little bit about the distinction between the two, the Torah and the Tanakh. Let's get it. Okay. One of the first things I really want to get across before we, delve deep into this, into the Torah and Tanakh lesson, and I did a lesson a while back, or I touched on it at least, when I talked about how the thing to understand with the Torah, especially because it's in Hebrew, that was translated by so many different languages. Like when the Torah was translated to English, right? I want you all to know and understand that there are certain words that didn't exist, because Hebrew is a very, for lack of a better term, it's a very weird kind of language, like, right? There are certain words that couldn't be translated over, right? And I touched on that, and that's called it's called sonne, right? So they have to put the next best thing that they could find to match what that word was in Hebrew, right? And that goes on quite a bit in the Torah and the Tanakh. It does, because certain words just are not translatable. And I'm gonna tell you, sometimes one word can change the whole meaning of something. One word, right? It's something to really think about. And case in point, I believe it's the book of Proverbs, if I'm not mistaken. Proverbs or Psalms, I can't remember which one exactly. But the original version goes, "When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice." Now that's as plain as day. Basically what it's saying is that when people of God are in positions of power, then the people that are under them, or who they have control over, whatever, they're happy. They're in a good place. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. Now, for some reason, in one of the newer versions of the Bible, I don't know if it's the NIV or the NKG, but that same scripture and verse said was changed. But one word says, when the righteous are in authority, the people thrive. So you don't have to be a literary scholar to know that rejoice and thrive are two totally different words. I don't even know how and why they came up with thrive to replace rejoice, because thrive totally changes the meaning of that scripture and verse. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. They're happy, right? They're ecstatic. But the new version says, when the righteous are in authority, the people thrive. It's almost as if whoever rewrote that wanted to make it seem like that verse, scripture and verse, was more so about leadership, and less about the people, right? Meaning that basically, if whoever's in authority to the people, they're gonna be okay because they're gonna strive and this and that. No, that's not what the original scripture and verse said. So, and I said that to make my point that one word can change the whole meaning of a whole passage. One word, just one word. And I use that as my example all the time, right? So I want you all to understand that, especially moving forward as I continue to do some of these lessons and some of these Shabbat services, I may have to break out with the concordance, because I use an exhaustive concordance, because I do in-depth studying. If I come up on a scripture and verse that I need to see what the original scripture and verse said, like in Hebrew, and get a breakdown of that, then I'll do that. Right now, I don't expect everyone to do that. I mean, because that's some extra stuff. Everyone's not going to do that. I get it, but that's why I do what I do and why I am who I am. Right? Because it's important. I don't mind doing that. Because I need to get out to you guys, what it is and what it isn't. So that little extra that's nothing. But just know that moving forward, before we get to the next segment, that there are some words in Hebrew that just couldn't and cannot be translated over to quote unquote English. And as such, when a word or words is put in its place, it can change the whole meaning of something to where it don't even make sense. All right. So let's just keep that under your hat moving forward. Let's get it. Okay. So again, when you think Torah, for the children of Israel, you think automatically the 5 books of Moses, okay, given to the Most High. That includes Genesis, Exodus, Numbers, Leviticus, and Deuteronomy. All right, that is our foundation, and it begins from the creation of the world. Right, the beginnings of the children of Israel and our descendants, and in Egypt, it includes giving the Torah to Moses, and just us crossing through the promised land with the death of Moses. Now, while the Midrash believe that the Torah was created before the creation of the world, whereby the Most High used it as the blueprint for his creation, the majority believe that the Torah was as a result of the Babylonian captivity, which I reject that outright. All right, because that's why the Genesis starts with in the beginning. Now, without getting too far off or veering too far left, I mentioned this before. I believe Genesis to be the works of mostly Enoch, but it's not credited to him because they decided not to include any of Enoch's works into the Torah. And I think that was a gross misjustice. That's why I did a video on Enoch. So you guys check that out if you haven't. So they just attributed, Genesis to Moses, although Moses was nowhere near the beginning, but he was chosen to lead us out of our bondage in Egypt, the whole nine. The Most High chose him. We all know the story. Moses didn't want to be chosen. He said, well, I don't speak well. I stutter, pick Aaron, and Most High wasn't trying to hear none of that. He was like, nah, you my chosen vessel. You know, Aaron could talk for you if that's the case, but nah, it's you, brother. It's you. And that's the beautiful thing about being chosen. You know, you can't petition the Most High to choose you. You know, he has mercy on whom he will have mercy. He chooses whom he chooses. And I mean, the whole nine. You know, that's what happens when you're a sovereign being, when you're totally omnipotent, and you don't have to you don't depend on anything or anyone, nor do you have to consult with anyone for any decisions you make. That's just it. I mean, his law, his word is final. So when you think Torah, that's it. In a nutshell, think creation, you know, the beginning, right? Adam, Eve, the whole nine. Right? Now the Tanakh, which with that and the Torah both combined, they call it the quote unquote Old Testament, which kind of gives a false credence that since it's quote unquote Old Testament that it's outdated, or the New Testament Christians think it doesn't apply to them. Well, one of the two is true. It really doesn't apply to them per se. It applies to the children of Israel. Okay. However, Christ Yeshua HaMashiach said that salvation is of the Jews. Once again, for a lot of you Christian brothers and sisters and some of you Israelites, Christ himself said salvation is of the Jews. And I think that's John 4:22. Okay. So Christ did not come to do away with any laws. There's no New Testament, not really. Okay, that the Gospels of Christ, along with a lot of some of our stolen laws, statutes, and commandments out of Torah and Tanakh, were included in this so-called New Testament. It was repackaged as a New Testament. A lot of that stuff, some of that stuff is in Tanakh. You know, few is in Torah. You know, but those scriptures and verses are kind of, you know, they were borrowed or stolen from our books. So, you know, the New Testament Christians thinking that the quote unquote Old Testament doesn't apply to them. In a sense, they're right, but in another sense, they're wrong, because in order to be saved, to receive salvation, you have to take on the laws, statutes, and commandments given to the children of Israel, found where? In the Torah and Tanakh. Okay, y'all follow me? So, you know, it's kind of, you know, mixing some truth with some falsehood, right? So that's really the distinction, if you will. There's really no Old Testament. The Torah and Tanakh is the law, statutes, and commandments of the children of Israel, period. All right, Torah refers to the 5 books. The Tanakh refers to the 24, which includes a collection of, you know, writings and you know, knowledge, you know, wisdom. There's a lot of, you know, great stuff in the Tanakh as well as the Torah, you know, and those two are that's our foundation for the children of Israel. Okay, so I just wanted to kind of say that, you know, because I really do believe that some people had it a little confused, and hopefully this will you know, unconfuse you, if you will. That's why I tell you all the time, my people, you can't mix, you know, Christian dogma with the law, statutes, and commandments given to the children of Israel. It does not work. It will not work. Okay, we have to be that beacon of light. In order to be that beacon of light, we have to know what it is we have to do so that we can offer salvation to our sojourners and our brothers and sisters that want to stand with us. Okay, you can't lead anyone if you don't know where you're going. Because what did Christ say? It's the blind leading the blind, and you're going to lead them right into a ditch. And we can't have that. All right. So anyway, I just wanted to do this. Like I said, a quick little lesson today on this Shabbat. I normally don't give lessons on Shabbats other than the service, but I just felt led to do this one. So again, hopefully, some of you understand a little better between the two and how it relates to the so-called New Testament. Even the Torah and Tanakh is ours, i.e., the children of Israel. Okay, some of what's in the Tanakh and the Torah made its way over to the New Testament. That's why some of the stuff sounds similar. Well, it should, because it came right directly from our books in the Torah and Tanakh. But what do I tell you all as a rule of thumb? Okay, if you read anything in New Testament, if you read anything in a Tanakh, I mean, if you read anything that does not line up with the word of the Most High, you don't even have to think about it. You can just reject it outright. And that's why I keep harping. Please let the Torah be your foundation. Always go back. Always revert back to Torah. We are Torah keepers. Okay, we're led by Torah. Okay, if someone says something to me, if I read something in the New Testament or whatever, and I go to Torah and I can't find a precept for it, or I can't find where thus said the Lord, and for whatever reason my discernment isn't operating and I can't discern what's what, if it's not in Torah, I'm sorry, not sorry, but I'm rejecting it. Period, point blank. To God be the glory. May the Most High have mercy if I'm wrong, but he's been pretty good at leading me, in terms of my discernment to know, what's of him and what's not. So, yeah, I mean, let that be your foundation, my brothers and sisters, the Torah. Okay, that's it for us. All right. So on that note, I'm going to go ahead and end this lesson. I'm saying Ahaya Bayashim, Yeshua HaMashiach, Baruch Atah Adonai, for now and forever. Shalom, elect. Love you guys. Till next time. It's Dr. Ephraim signing off.